Alright, welcome to the lecturer again, and in this video we are going to talk about arrays. Okay, so for some of you that you already have some background on programming, so you should have known what is actually arrays. Okay, so in Java the arrays are basically the same. Okay, so in Java arrays are actually the objects that can hold a fixed numbers of elements. Okay, and each element in the array is accessed by its index number, okay, which represent the position of the arrays. Okay, all right. So, and then the next thing that you have to take note is that arrays or object in Java, they are always passed by reference, or what we call as a reference type. Okay, don't worry students, I know you might be confused now. Okay, so we will go through in depth on what is actually arrays, how do we use arrays, and what does it mean by arrays or object. They are actually the reference type variable. Okay, don't worry students. Okay, so I'm going to go through all this with you guys. Okay, so for now just remember the theory part first. Okay, so let's come back into the practical part. Okay, so I'm going to reuse back the class called math that we did previously. Okay, so we are going to modify it a little bit. Okay, so what we are going to do here is create a program that is able to find the index number of the smallest number in the array. Okay, so let's say if I have an array here 1, 5, 22, 150, negative 54, 100, and 200. So what I'm going to do here is my program should be able to identify that this number is actually the smallest number. And also from there, I should be able to get the index number of this particular number here. Okay, so without further ado, let's start it. Okay, so let's create a main method. All right, so you guys may be wondering, what is the shortcut key that I type in order for me to get the main method so quickly? Okay, it is actually PSVM, public static void main, and then you press on tab. Okay, so IDE will actually write it all for you. Okay, all right, so now let's create a new array, call it numbers. Okay, and then initialize with all those number above. Okay, 1, 5, 22, 150, negative 54, 100, 200. Okay, all right, so in this video I'm going to use the simplest way, okay, for me to get the smallest number, because I don't want to confuse you guys with all those complicated algorithms. Okay, so I'm going to use the simplest way to do it. Okay, all right, so now what we do is we create another two variable. Okay, let's call it the smallest index, initialize it to 0, and then we create another variable, call it smallest number. Okay, we initialize it to the first element in the array. Okay, and then next thing what we need to do is we need to create a loop for us to go through, okay, to go through the entire number array to find that which one is actually the smallest index number. Okay, right, so now I have the loop. So what I'm going to do in this loop here is I'm going to check, okay, which number is actually the smallest number. Okay, so if the number here, okay, in this loop is even smaller than the smallest number that we have, okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to reassign the value. Okay, so the smallest index shall be the I, and then the smallest number should be the element in these particular positions. So I, okay, and then for us to test it out, okay, so let's print out the value. Okay, once again, for me to get the system.out.print, okay, is what we call as SOUT. Okay, and then we press on tab. Okay, the position is, okay, we put in smallest index, okay, and then the number, smallest number is, okay, numbers which is at the smallest index. Okay, all right, so let's run it. Okay, so the expected result that we are supposed to get is, okay, we should be getting this position, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should be getting the position number 4 and number -54. Okay, so let's test it out. Okay, so the position is number 4 and the smallest index is the smallest number is actually -54. Okay, so this is how we use the what we call the array. Okay, so this is one of the way that we can initialize our array. This is what we call as a name array. Okay, if let's say if I want to create one of the array that is anonymous, okay, which I'm going to use it once only. Okay, so maybe what we can do is we can move this method, okay, into a new method. Okay, so public void integer, sorry, find smallest index. Okay. Okay, so instead of this, what we are going to do here is we are going to pass in the numbers. Okay, right, so what we are going to do here, let's copy this out, return smallest index. Okay, and then here what we are going to do here is we are going to get the smallest index. Okay, so smallest index equals to new maths dot, okay, find smallest index, and then we are going to pass in the anonymous array. Okay, so new integer, we are going to pass in the integer. Okay, so let's say is 1, 5, 22, 150, -54, 100, 200. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we have why still error. Okay, so I forgot my semicolon. Okay, so this is what we call it as a ambiguous array. Okay, so with no name. Okay, same goes to this one. This is what we call as an anonymous constructor or create the anonymous instance. Okay, all right, so let's run it and see whether we get the same output or not. Okay, so for this one, okay, so we cannot use anonymous. Okay, so this is just for showing purpose only. So I'm going to create the array of numbers. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. Okay, so this is my array. I'm going to pass it into the here. I'm going to pass it into here, numbers. Okay, all right, so let's run it. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting the same results. Okay. Okay, so the next thing what we are going to do is we are going to test on what do we mean by arrays are actually a reference type. Okay. All right. So let's say now what we do is we create a new method that is able for us to manipulate the value in the array. Okay, so public void, let's say we are going to do multiply by 10. Okay, so we're going to pass in the integer. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to look through all the arrays first. Okay, we are going to look through all the arrays element. Okay, and then we are going to do next is we are going to multiply the element by 10. Okay, Okay, and then what we are going to do next is, okay, so I am going to invoke to this method here. Okay, so new maths dot multiply by 10. I'm going to pass in my numbers. Okay, as you can see, I didn't manipulate the numbers here. Okay, I didn't assign it like this. Okay, I didn't assign it like this. But let's see what is the output after we run this method here. Okay, shall we? Okay, so let's copy this again. Okay, we put it here in order for us to see what is the output. Okay, so system.out.print. Okay, so we are going to print the element here. Okay, so numbers I. Okay, so let's print it. Initially our value is 1. Okay, 1, 5, 22, 150, negative 54, 100 and 200. So we didn't assign the value here, but why was it being manipulated? Okay, that is the beauty of what we call as a pass-by reference. Okay, so when these numbers here, the array here is being passed into the method here, it only passes in the reference or the memory location of this particular array. Okay, which means that anything that I did to this particular array, okay, anything that I modified or anything that I updated, okay, for this array, it will reflect directly to this particular, the original source of the array. Because why? Because this is what we call as a pass-by reference. We pass in the location only. Okay, so whatever we did to that particular array or object will be modified in the methods. Okay, because this is just the memory location. So we are manipulating directly on that particular memory locations. Okay, so we are directly manipulating the original source. Okay, original argument. Okay, all right, so this is what we call as a pass-by reference. Okay, so this video is a bit long. So thank you guys for staying with me, okay? And I hope you guys learned something. So that's all for our video today. I'll see you guys again. And all right, bye-bye.